Hi, welcome to Attainable Green. I'm Jess, and today we're going to be talking about my maxillaria orchids. Recently, I got a plant off my wish list, and it's a maxillaria with spotted leaves. There are actually two types. There's one called the Reichenheimiana, and there's another one called the Psuedoreichenheimiana. The Maxillaria Reichenheimiana is one of my wish list plants because I love the foliage. And since the orchid spends most of its time in its vegetative state, why not enjoy the plant while it's not flowering, right? The flowers on these plants tend to be on the smaller side, with the size being about an inch across or so. So they're not big flowers and they're not very showy, but in combination with the spotted leaves, I think this is a great plant. I'm not quite sure what the difference is between these two plants, but I'm hoping that by growing them, I'll find out the differences pretty soon. I don't see this plant for sale too often, so when it popped up, I just had to get it. There isn't much information on these plants, and I'm documenting this to help you guys out if you're interested. I got plants from 3 different orchid nurseries. The prices for all of them are very comparable, but the size difference is staggering. There is a huge difference between one versus the other, and they're all in different stages of growth and maturity. So let's start with the biggest one. This is the Psuedoreichenheimiana from Andy's Orchids, and look at it. It's in a net pot and it looks so full and bushy. You can see there are a couple of new growths, and you can definitely tell there's a lot of old flower spikes on this one. It's packed in sphagnum moss, and some of the roots are coming out, and you can see how fine the roots are. I really love this plant. Aside from the spots, there's a little bit of a reddish underside and even on the edges of the leaves. I thought it's because it gets too much light, but it seems to be okay. There are tiny pseudobulbs at the base of the leaves, and the pseudobulbs are stacked up against each other, like a typical maxillaria. I don't think this plant has a fragrance, but we'll find out. The second plant I ordered is supposed to be a Reichenheimiana, but when it came, the tag said it was a Psuedoreichenheimiana. So I'm going to trust and go with the tag. This one came from Hawaii by Kawamoto Orchids, and looking at it, it's in great health. This plant should be the same as the previous one, but it looks really different. The main difference is that there is no reddish hue on the leaves at all. There is the spotting, and there are the small pseudobulbs, so it does have that same classic look. Maybe they grow it with less light, and so the reddish hue doesn't appear, or it might be a different cultivar altogether. It's interesting that this one seems to have 2 main leads, and there's a ton of new growths on the bottom coming out. They're just starting to leaf out, so it'll be really interesting to see how this one grows on. This orchid seems to be packed in larger bark, and despite the large bark size, it actually holds a lot of water. So I guess I don't have trouble keeping this one well watered. This last plant is a Reichenheimiana from Seattle Orchids. This one actually looks really similar to the Psuedoreichenheimiana from Andy's Orchids. It has the reddish underside, it has the spots on the leaves, and the leaf shape looks similar. The only difference is the leaves are a little bit smaller, but it also could be that this plant is a lot younger as well. This one is packed in a bark mix, and hopefully it will retain enough water. Supposedly, there are 3 main differences between this plant. The first one being the flowers. The flowers should look slightly different because they have different coloration. Second is the flowering season. The Reichenheimiana should flower between spring to fall, and the Psuedoreichenheimiana should bloom in the wintertime. However, I read that both plants can be free-flowering, so I'm not sure if they will have a distinct season in my environment. Third is the permanence of the spotting on the leaves. The Psuedoreichenheimiana is called fake because the spots are not permanent. Supposedly, you can rub it off and you will never see that there was a spot on the leaf. However, on the Reichenheimiana, you can't scrape off the spots. I've tried this and it's not a definitive test. Sure, on the Psuedoreichenheimiana, you can scrape off the dots. That is very clear. On the Reichenheimiana, you can scrape off the dots, but some residue still remains, and maybe that's what distinguishes it. For now, that's an acceptable test for me. I'm going to be growing these on, and I'm going to share with you how they grow and maybe any future differences, so you can see for yourself what the differences are between these 2 very similar plants. Right now, they're outside in a shady spot. I think they'll do well because there is decent humidity, bright shade, and lots of air movement. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, Attainable Green, for all the latest updates. And hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Bye!